So we're going to shift our focus over to Texas, and we will talk about this game, and then we'll get out of here. So Alabama's next game happens on Tuesday in Austin, Texas, at the Moody Center, and this is a game in which Alabama is going to have to not take lightly, because even though on paper Texas has not played super well, they're only 4-7 in conference. This is a team that has a couple of very good scorers, a team that has played pretty well at home. They beat Missouri at home. They beat Texas A&M at home. They gave Auburn a game, at home. They gave Tennessee a game at home. Auburn and Tennessee were both 4 and 5 point games respectively. This is a team that at home has done a very good job of, at a minimum, keeping it close and even winning some games that ideally you would not think they would win, like Texas A&M and Missouri. So overall, Texas has done a good job in that Moody Center. So this is a game that I think Alabama is going to have to play to their potential, and Alabama is going to for sure have to understand that just because you have the Auburn game on deck and you have College Game Day on deck, you still have to take care of business first, right? I think that's going to be the thing that you have to preach if you're Nate Oates, is we cannot look ahead to what the rankings are. I don't care if we end up getting the number 1 ranking after the AP poll comes out. I don't care if, what ends up happening. We have to prepare for this game, and we have to take care of business before we move on to Saturday, right? I think that is the goal when you're looking at this game, and that's what Alabama has to preach. I think Nate's also going to want to preach that if you get a lead, you have to put Texas away. Texas and Arkansas was a much further. Arkansas had a much bigger lead, and Texas comes back. Much in the way that Arkansas came back against Alabama. Alabama's up pretty big against Arkansas, and and Arkansas comes back. So this is something that Nate's going to talk about a lot, I'm sure. Also, they have a few guys that can just absolutely go off. The main guy in that being Trey Johnson, the massive freshman that, he's shooting 38% from 3 this season, 87% from the line, averaging 19 points, one of the better scorers in the league. He is somebody that can go off, can do very well shooting the ball, and is somebody that you can't let get going. So when you look at something like that, Alabama has had issue with Josh Hubbard and with the kid from North Dakota. We have had moments this season where a single player that we know is their best player ends up still, just for whatever reason, being able to go off against our defense. That's something that, especially on the road in Austin, you cannot have happen, right? So that is something Alabama's going to have to key in on the game plan. And they're going to have to understand that Texas, again, is not the same team at home as they are on the road. They're a very good team at home, and this is somebody that can beat you if you do not play to your potential. Texas also does a couple of things really well. Defensively, they've actually been a pretty good defensive 2-point team. They've done a pretty good job running teams off the line, near top 75 in that stat. They don't let you assist on a ton of baskets. So this is a team that, honestly, similar in the way that Arkansas tried to run Alabama off the line and then, block shots in the interior. Alabama was able to have success in the interior, but, Arkansas had a pretty solid game plan of not let Alabama get the shots off from deep. I would expect Texas tries to do much of the same. Right, I would expect Texas tries to run Alabama off the line, because when you hear a Nate Oates team, a lot of people are going to try to stop our ability to shoot the 3, because that's what you immediately notice about a Nate Oates team, is they shoot a lot of 3s. And people think that if you let us shoot a lot of 3s and then we get the offensive rebounds, the offense just continues going and going and going. So I think Texas will try to stop us and keep us off the 3-point line. But if that happens, then the matchup will be much in the same way it was in the Arkansas game. Will be a matchup in the interior, where Alabama has one of the best 2-point percentages in the country. I believe right now it's second. Texas has a top 30 2-point defense. This is a good team, right? This is a team that has a slightly better offense than defense. Both of them are around, top 40, top 50 in the country. They're not super big. They do have Caden Shedrick, that's their main center at 6'11". So Alabama will have a little bit of a height advantage. Arthur Kaluma that plays their four, the guy from previously from Creighton and Kansas State. He is somebody that is going to have a big body, but is not super tall. So he's going to be a unique matchup for like a Grant Nelson or a Jaron Stevenson. Alabama in general, I think, is going to obviously have the height advantage in this game. I think Alabama will have the advantage from a talent perspective, but none of that matters, right? None of that matters if Alabama does not play their game. So first things first, I think Alabama obviously has to not turn over the basketball. When you're in somebody's road arena, and that's something that I'm sure Nate Oates was very frustrated with in the Arkansas game, when you're in somebody's road arena, a turnover keeps the fans engaged. Alabama had problems with it in the first half. They definitely cleaned it up in the second half, but it's something that you do not want to see happen, especially in this Texas game, because it could mean a lack of focus. And a lack of focus and not taking Texas seriously will cause you to lose this game with the Auburn game on deck, right? This is an obvious trap game. The game before your rival is a game that everybody, in sports knows that the game before your rival is one that you have to absolutely take seriously because, if your players are focused on the wrong things, then you will lose the game. So, when I look at those, Texas, thankfully is not, from a defensive perspective, is actually just a sound defense. They're not somebody that actually causes a ton of turnovers. However, on offense, they do a good job not turning over the ball themselves, right? They're top 15 in not turning over the ball themselves. They don't give up a lot of steals. They don't have a lot of unforced turnovers. This is a team that honestly just plays a pretty sound style of offense. It's not like they're a super aggressive, like shoot a ton of threes. They're actually pretty low in the number of 3-point shots they take compared to the rest of the country. But their goal is run you off the 3-point line and just play sound offense and sound defense, right? They don't do a lot of gambles. They're not, like I said, they're not a huge turnover team, offense or defense. This is just a sound basketball team from that standpoint. But again, this is a team that I think Alabama just has to take seriously, especially on the road, because Texas is the kind of team that has the playmakers and the ability to beat a team like Alabama. Like I said, they have the playmakers. They have some guys like from Indiana State in Julian Larry and Jason Kent, which Alabama played last season. You got Tremont Mark, the transfer previously of Houston and Arkansas. Arthur Kaluma, we talked about. Trey Johnson, the big-time freshman. They have a lot of talent on this team and a lot of people that have played a lot of college basketball in the transfers that I mentioned. So this is a team that has that ability. Like I said, they're built in a way that has the ability to take down a team like Alabama. So if I'm looking at the keys to victory for Alabama, first things first, don't turn over the basketball. Again, Texas is not somebody who forces a ton of turnovers. So I think that as long as Alabama plays sound basketball, we should not have that issue. It's not like we're playing against an Ole Miss or a Vanderbilt or somebody that really likes to get up in you. So I think that Alabama should have some success there. Second thing, play your style of basketball, right? If Texas tries to run you off the 3-point line, go to the hoop, right? They really only have one main rim protector. And I think that Alabama will be able to have some success around the rim just due to how we've been able to do it against teams of similar size, similar play style all season, right? Texas is not the greatest team at blocking shots. They're pretty good at blocking shots, but Arkansas actually was a much better team at blocking shots. So I think that Alabama should be able to have some success around the rim. And then third thing, do not let Trey Johnson beat you. Simply put. Do not let their star player get going nonstop and get the confidence of a shooter, and do not let him be the difference in this game, right? That is the thing when you look at a team like Texas. As a group, I think that Alabama matches up very, very well with them. However, if they allow Trey Johnson to do what Eagle staff did or what Josh Hubbard did, and allow him to get going and allow him to see a big rim and allow him to just see some shots fall, that is something that is never a great sign, and it could potentially cause problems with Alabama. So for me, I would like to see a guy like Jaron Stevenson potentially match up on him, put some extra size on him to start the game. Potentially put a guy, if you need some extra physicality, put like a Chris Youngblood on him, give him a challenge to start the game. And do not let up. If you have to rotate bodies a little more often just so that you have a fresh body on him at all times, do not let him get going, and make sure that if Texas is going to be in this game, it's not because they have one player keeping them in this game. Because I think if Alabama plays as a team and Alabama plays their game, they match up very well with Texas and can win this game. But if they let Trey Johnson get going and they allow him to do what he's capable of, it could be a long night for Alabama. And that's just not what you want to see, especially going into the Auburn game. A lot's going to be talked about how both teams are looking ahead to the Auburn game. Thankfully, Alabama just played Arkansas, and since Arkansas's last game was Texas, we're able to kind of look at this game and look and see what happens. Then now we're playing Texas. Texas's last game was Vanderbilt. Auburn plays Vandy right before us, right? So the way the league schedule kind of works out, a lot of teams are kind of intermixed playing each other currently. So thankfully it actually works out from a scouting perspective of we just played this team, let's see how they play them. So I do think that Alabama, like I said, matches up very, very well with Texas. I think that Alabama should be able to win this game. I am going to predict Alabama wins this game, but not by as much of a margin as I was originally anticipating. I think that Alabama wins a fairly close game, probably somewhere in the 6 to 8 point range. I think that Alabama is a better team than that. I think if this game was in Coleman Coliseum, I would potentially predict a 15-plus point win. But I think this game being in the Moody Center in Austin definitely has a huge impact. Like I said, Texas all season has done a very good job at home. They haven't lost a game at home by more than 8 points. So I think that 6 to 8 point is probably a pretty good margin, especially with Alabama having the slight look ahead. If Alabama was to win this by more, would it super shock me? No, because I do think Alabama is a clearly better team than Texas, but I think at home, I think Texas is a better team than advertised. I'm going to say Alabama beats Texas by a score of, let's go 86-79. Let's go 86-79, so a 7-point win. Like I said, I do think that Texas is a solid team and a team that matches up, or that Alabama matches up very well with, but I think that Texas can pose some issues with us, especially on the road, and especially if Alabama does not execute its game plan or is at all focused in the wrong place with the Auburn game on deck. So that's what I want to talk about. Like I said, I know this is an episode that we talked a little bit about the game that's going to be happening on Saturday. I will record that episode on Thursday. Unfortunately, I'm actually going to be out of town on Wednesday, so I'm not going to be able to record an episode on Wednesday night as I was originally anticipating for the basketball game. But as soon as I get back into town on Thursday, I will record an episode. So I may try to go ahead and record early and have that Thursday episode come out Thursday night instead of in the morning. So the Auburn preview will come out on Thursday or early Friday morning. So stay in touch. Look in your YouTube sub feed. Throw your notifications on if you're interested in that one. If you are interested in the pregame thread, I will write one for the Texas preview, breaking down all the players in detail. That's going to come out over on Twitter on Tuesday morning. If you are interested in anything else, please subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, throw them down in the description and in the comments. I do read them all. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode. Peace.